Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. I've not done this intro in a very long time and especially not on a Boros episode, but I do have a couple of things to announce here. So first of all, I am really sorry for the wait. I know it's super long, but there were reasons for it. One of the main ones is basically Tatsumaki's voice actor isn't available to voice this part or probably any other part in the future, so unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to put up with me doing Tatsumaki's voice this episode. I'm really sorry about that, but I did not want to make the wait for this episode even longer than it already is by searching for another voice actor, so yeah, sorry about this, sorry if it sounds bad, but we're back in the season 1 days, the budget has dropped. Well, not really, the budget isn't the problem. But yeah, basically, we're going back to me voicing Tatsumaki for this episode, and then in the future ones, I'll try to find another voice actor. Sorry for the wait, and I hope the episode is worth the wait. And have a good watch.
Protect the innocent, save them, protect the city, don't kill them, protect the law, help them, save the weak.
Shut up! Shut up!
Platinum S rides on the harsh gravel of a massive cave in agony, clasping at his head.
What the hell is this?
Good people must kill them, protect them, help them.
Get out! Get out of my head!
Protect the innocent, protect the heroes, protect the city.
Enough!
Platinum S screams as he thrusts his hand into his own head. The sharp fingertips dig into his skull.
You're wrong. You're all wrong!
Platinum tears his fingers back out of his own head, and the pain slowly fades. He takes a deep breath and stands up. He remains still, cautiously awaiting any further seizures. However, they never come. The voices are gone.
What the hell? I never would have imagined that the essence of those I consume could leash out like this!
Platinum S grits his teeth.
This must be why I've been so erratic. These damned heroes still have influence. They're balanced out by the criminals and monsters I consume. But that's no good either. It's their instincts that drove me to waste time on those two earlier. Ugh. My fusions, they've been unstable.
Platinum S grips his head and walks across the cave, taking some time to compose himself.
All the more reason to hasten the process of perfecting my way of consumption.
After a few moments, he grins maliciously.
It's fine. This doesn't change anything in the long run. I just have to endure a little more. Tonight, in mere hours, I will finally be complete.
In the Hametsuto Kurushimi, a dimension that houses all the most hideous creatures the entity known as God has ever created, Tatsumaki is fighting for her life against a creature all too familiar to her. The beast, if it can even be called that, has a body spanning countless miles, made up completely of some sort of black liquid-like substance. It's a sentient mass of destruction, swallowing all it comes into contact with. The creature brings up some unpleasant flashbacks of the ocean monster Tatsumaki faced so long ago. Regardless of the seemingly impossible challenge, the Esper simply smirks. With a wave of her hand, she generates an enormous tornado large enough to encompass all the liquid in an instant, and spins it fast enough to vaporize it. Within moments, the creature is no more. The Esper lets out a satisfied huff.
Not bad. Excellent, actually.
Blast, the former #1 hero, calls out and Tatsumaki turns to him. Even though she can't see the man in the pitch-black darkness of this universe, facing another person as they speak is still a force of habit.
You've grown a lot. It seems like you can handle yourself just fine here now. I don't think there's any creature left in this entire realm that could give you a notable challenge.
Of course there isn't. I've nearly completed my training with you, after all.
It's no surprise that those miserable grunts don't stand a chance against me anymore.
Blast chuckles.
Those same miserable grunts would have murdered you 1,000 times over before you could even blink back when you arrived here. You've come far. There is nothing left for you here now. We're heading back home. You can finally get out of this hellhole.
Blast smiles, truly proud. However, the Esper shakes her head.
No, not yet. There's still something I want to perfect.
Really? I've already taught you everything I can within this short period of time. I can't stay much longer to train you. I have my own duties. You know that, Tatsumaki.
Don't worry, this shouldn't take too long. I just want to master my finisher. Once I do that, I need to test my strength against Boros. If I'm satisfied with the results of that spar, then we can call my training complete.
Blast nods. Once again, a force of habit, even if the move can't be seen.
Alright, but before you go meet anyone, we have to get you a shower. And some new clothes. And a haircut.
Excuse me? What are you implying?
Come on. After a year in here, I imagine both of us look filthy. And I don't even need to imagine the stench.
Tatsumaki nearly unleashes a giant attack on her mentor right then and there. But after stopping and taking a moment to calm down, she sighs.
I guess you're right. But you need cleanup way more than I do.
Back on Earth, in the Hero Association headquarters, Sitch sits in his main office, browsing through files and records of the hero disappearances once again, as well as the files of Boros and all the S-Class. As he does so, the door to the room opens and Busho walks in.
Up late?
He asks and Sitch simply nods. Busho walks up to the desk and looks at his colleague's computer.
What's this all about?
I can't wrap my head around this. How do so many heroes disappear without a trace? And what little clues we have found of the latest murders lead us absolutely nowhere. No marks, no DNA samples, nothing at all.
We've been over this, Sitch. There's nothing else we can do. All that's left is to wait for the heroes to pick up on something. I know it's frustrating, but...
You don't get it!
Sitch interrupts.
I'm responsible for this association, and all these heroes' lives.
I know that, and nobody is blaming you for how things are turning out. We're all just trying our best here, alright?
Busho comforts his friend before noticing something on his screen. Data on the heroes as well as their current locations.
By the way, I get looking at the files of the case, but what do you hope to find in the files of the heroes?
Sitch glances at the computer screen.
I'm trying to keep track of everyone. I dread to see any one of their communicators go out. We've installed new upgrades that automatically send an alarm every time a communicator breaks, so I guess I'm just trying to see if anything comes up.
You can't be here all night. We have teams for this.
I know. This is just something on the side while I look into something else. I hate to say it, but what are the chances that Boros has something to do with this?
Busho frowns.
What makes you say that?
Consider this. When did the disappearances start? After Boros' battle with Tornado and those other beasts who King finished off. Now think about what would be needed for some creature to pull off all these murders. Insane power? Inhuman speed? Intelligence? Boros does fit the bill, doesn't he?
Sitch sighs and Busho ponders the idea for a second.
Maybe, but those are just a bunch of coincidences. We could say the same about Blast or Caped Baldy. What would be his motive? What would Boros gain by killing and devouring heroes?
I don't know. Maybe power? King and Blast, as well as that Saitama fellow, all have strength that could oppose Boros. If he is indeed plotting something, he'd need more power to deal with them. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but don't you think we should at least look into this possibility?
Busho ponders it over and finally nods.
Perhaps.
I'll have security and investigators keep an eye out for any suspicious activity.
Good, thank you.
The director smiles before logging off for the night. The two association higher-ups say their goodbyes and head off to their respective quarters. As they do in Q City, a shining figure lands on top of a skyscraper. Looking down at the streets below, and particularly at the local opera house building, Platinum S smiles.
The preparations are complete.
The creature mutters as he watches over groups of people entering the building. Lots of families, children, parents, and grandparents all coming to enjoy the big show the local school is putting up. Yes, these shall do nicely. This will be a grand night. The monster's awakening shall begin here. Meanwhile, Tatsumaki says her goodbyes to Blast before opening a portal to the earth. She takes a few breaths and almost hesitates to step in. It's been so long. To everyone else, only a month has passed, but to her it's been an entire year in here, in this place with no sunlight, no nature, civilization, people, just an endless fight for survival. Is she still the same Tatsumaki? Will she be able to talk to Fubuki, Boros, and the others as before? Or has she changed too much? The Esper shakes her head. There's no point in dwelling on all that. With one final sigh, Tatsumaki steps into the portal and leaves the dimension known as the Hametsuto Kurushimi to head home. The Esper exits the portal and stands on a tall hill, surrounded by forest. She's just in time to witness the last few rays of sunlight as the dark blankets of the night set over the world. Suddenly, Tatsumaki is hit with all sorts of sensations. The otherwise dim light of the evening sun now seems blinding, and her eyes have to take time to adjust after a year in complete darkness. The smell of flowers, the gentle breeze of the wind, the soft grass beneath her feet. It's almost overwhelming. The Esper takes a deep breath and absorbs the fresh forest air. As her lungs fill with oxygen that doesn't feel like it's burning her from the inside, Tatsumaki yelps. She'd gotten so used to the deadly atmosphere in the Hametsuto Kurushimi that she'd completely forgotten what it meant to breathe normally. The sound of evening birds chirping in the distance and of water flowing somewhere nearby snaps the Esper out of her trance. She feels as light as the wind, not weighed down by the intense gravity of the other world. Tatsumaki closes her eyes and just lets herself flop down on the soft, warm grass. For the first time in a year, she doesn't need to stay alert. For the first time in forever, Tatsumaki feels at ease.
This is home,
she mutters to herself, unable to believe it. 10 minutes pass, maybe more, and the last rays of sunlight disappear under the horizon completely, drenching the world in the darkness she's so familiar with. And yet, it's different. The stars and the moon illuminate the night sky, letting her see the trees, the grass. This is a completely different type of darkness than the one she got used to over the last year. This night brings comfort and peace. The Esper almost falls asleep, but eventually she forces herself to slowly sit up. Tatsumaki stretches. No, she can't slumber off just yet. There's something she's got to do. The psychic rises into the air and senses for Boros' energy. In no time at all, she locks onto his location and opens a portal before stepping through. Just as the alien exits the garden of Takemi's household, a portal appears before him.
It's been a while, Boros.
The voice of the #1 hero, Tornado of Terror, calls out to the alien, and a second later, the Esper herself steps out of the portal. Boros blinks. He can't believe his eye at first, but after a moment of bewilderment, He smiles wide.
It certainly has, Tatsumaki.
The Cyclops says with audible excitement as he steps closer to the Esper and attempts to pull her into a hug. But she stops him dead in his tracks with a raised finger. I want a rematch. This catches Boros by surprise.
Huh?
You heard me. I want a fight. With you. Right now.
The Esper spells it out. Boros can't believe what he's hearing.
Let me get this straight. We haven't seen each other for who knows how long. And the first thing you tell me after getting back is, you want a fight?
Oh, for the love of... Yes! How many times will I have to repeat myself before that thick brick skull of yours takes it in?
Tatsumaki asks, frustrated, but Boros doesn't hear a word past the yes part.
This is great! Tatsumaki, you're the best friend I could have ever asked for. Where are we doing this?
A smirk of excitement and anticipation spreads across Boros' face. This is just the best reunion ever. He gets to meet a cherished friend and fight her immediately. Tatsumaki for her part smirks as well.
Not on Earth, I can tell you that much. Maybe... let's go with Saturn. Why not?
The Esper says before lifting up her hand.
Wait, what?
The alien asks, but before he can even finish his question, a sphere of gravity similar to a black hole forms around the two heroes, and in the next instant, Boros finds himself standing not on the firm concrete of an ordinary pavement, but floating on the gaseous yellowish surface of the second largest planet in the solar system. Sure enough, they're on Saturn. The Esper smiles.
There we go.
She says as Boros tries to comprehend what just happened. Tatsumaki now has access to blast portals? Not to mention she's surviving just fine in outer space without a shield. The alien knew the Esper would undoubtedly grow much, much stronger through her training with the former number one. But he didn't expect this. And now that Boros has had more time to look at Tatsumaki, he realizes that she has undergone some telling changes. Her hair is noticeably a bit longer, and her body seems a tad bulkier too. She's gained some muscle during her training. The Esper isn't bulky or anything, but it's clear that she does have a much tougher body now. And if her physicals have visibly improved, Boros can't even begin to imagine how much her psychic abilities may have grown. Just how much has Tatsumaki endured over this past month? No, this past year for her. Now Boros finds the prospect of this rematch even more intriguing than before. But, perhaps most interesting of all, is the look on her face. Tatsumaki seems a bit distant. The gaze in her eyes almost lacks life, despite her playful attitude. Just what has she been through? Boros takes it upon himself to reignite the spark in his friend's eyes.
Just from that little display, I can tell you've improved drastically. This should be fun.
The alien smirks, and Tatsumaki smirks back.
If a one-sided beatdown is your idea of fun, then I suppose you can enjoy it.
Boros frowns.
In any case, I've been waiting to test my new powers on you. So let's cut the chit-chat and get straight to it.
The Esper says, brimming with confidence. Boros notes this. She's seen his full power, and yet, this promises to be one hell of a fight.
That's a lot of big talk. Well then, don't hold back. Show me what you've learned. If you can put even a single scratch on me, we'll call it your victory.
The alien grins and the Esper scoffs.
Trust me, it will be way more than just a scratch.
Tatsumaki responds and the two heroes prepare for battle. Words can come later. For now, both Boros and Tatsumaki are eager to test their power. The two stare each other down for a moment before the alien clenches one of his fists.
Here I come!
In a flash, Boros disappears and reappears right in front of the Esper with a wound-up fist. He drives it forward, aiming to hit her right in the head. To the alien's shock, Tatsumaki effortlessly, mockingly stops the punch dead in its tracks with a mere glare and flings him backwards.
You told me not to hold back. So don't you dare hold back yourself, got it?
Tatsumaki declares as the alien spirals across the vacuum of space, flying hundreds of miles before stopping and regaining his balance. Boros feels something warm on his lip and lifts up his hand, brushing it against the corner of his mouth. And he sees his own blood. Boros' smile widens, and his eye shines with anticipation.
Wonderful!
The alien exclaims and a burst of energy erupts from his body. A spiky blue aura surrounds him as he powers up. Tatsumaki watches her friend with great interest. The Esper is well aware that while she was away, Boros was also most definitely training and growing stronger in his own off time. And even though he's only had a month to grow instead of a year, the alien should still be substantially more powerful than before. Both warriors are eager to test the other's new might. As Boros unleashes his power, the space around him starts heating up. The entire planet below ripples and shifts around as waves of energy spread throughout the void of the cosmos, causing the gases of Saturn's atmosphere to swirl in a vortex.
I wonder, will you be able to keep up now?
Boros shouts and lunges at the Esper with blinding speed. Tatsumaki responds by unleashing a burst of aura herself before unexpectedly launching herself at the alien instead of trying to keep distance. Boros is taken aback, but not discouraged as he winds up another punch, this time with some real power behind it. The two heroes fly into each other and their auras collide, sending shockwaves that cause ripples all across Saturn's surface. Boros' punch is halted again, but this time he stands his ground. The Esper and the alien have a clash of auras as they both try to push each other back, but neither one budges an inch. Waves of energy and bolts of supercharged lightning shoot in all directions, ravaging the planet below them.
Not bad!
Boros grins as the eye in his chest begins to glow. Moments later, a massive beam forces Tatsumaki to raise her hand and put up a shield. Much to the alien's surprise, the enormous energy wave is split apart and completely dispelled by Tatsumaki within seconds, who fires back with an enormous psychic shockwave that hits Boros head-on and sends him flying. The alien crashes into the rings of Saturn and bounces between the asteroids for a moment before finding his footing and looking up, only to see Tatsumaki rocketing towards him. The alien lets out a joyous laughter as he powers up a little more and jumps to meet her head-on. The two forces clash and blow each other back, only to quickly spin back around and fly at each other again. Boros' punches and kicks collide with Tatsumaki's psychic barriers. Tatsumaki's psychic shockwaves and invisible blasts slam into Boros' armor-like shell. The two heroes rocket around the rings of Saturn at ludicrous speeds. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of attacks are exchanged between the two of them in mere moments. Boros and Tatsumaki speed up more, and soon, a massive constellation of light forms all across Saturn's rings. It is a spectacle to behold to any astronaut who happens to be looking in this direction at this time. Tatsumaki smiles wide as she laughs in delight. To think she could ever go toe-to-toe with Boros like this. The Esper can barely believe it. Her mind flashes back to the grueling training she went through. Tatsumaki remembers the fear, the pain, the suffering and exhaustion. All the times when her mind and body felt like they would dissolve into nothingness. And most of all, she remembers God. But it was all worth it. Tatsumaki is finally powerful enough. She's finally reached it. Finally. Finally! Tatsumaki lets out a triumphant roar that echoes throughout the cosmos before leaning back and raising her hands. Suddenly, all the boulders, comets and asteroids making up the rings of Saturn accelerate into a vortex surrounding the gas giant. Tatsumaki sways her arms around and the tornado keeps getting faster and faster. The cloud of cosmic debris getting denser and more compact with each passing moment. Within seconds, Tatsumaki holds up a disc of hyper-concentrated rubble above her head just a few miles wide, but spinning fast enough to produce its own gravitational field. Boros can feel himself getting pulled towards it. The Cyclops can't help but gape at the sight of such control.
Marvelous!
The Cyclops breathes out, and a second later, the Esper unleashes the barrage of debris from the disc flying at Boros at incredible speed. The alien raises his arms and starts punching and kicking all the boulders that come at him, breaking them apart. However, with their speed, enhancement, and sheer volume, even Boros has a tough time blocking them all. Suddenly, Tatsumaki appears right behind him. The alien tries to turn around, but as soon as he does, he sees Tatsumaki pointing an arm at his torso. Boom! Before the alien knows what hit him, a giant hole bursts through his abdomen and Boros coughs up blood. The Cyclops wheezes, but without delay winds up an arm and swings at the Esper. To his utter shock, the alien's fist slips through her. The image of Tatsumaki suddenly vanishes, leaving nothing but the emptiness of space behind.
What in the... a projection?
Boros mutters to himself before something colossal rams into his back. The alien turns to look behind him, only to see a wall of rock.
Huh?
The alien's eye goes wide as he realizes this is one of Saturn's moons. The alien quickly winds up a fist, radiating energy, and punches the celestial body with enough strength to shatter it. The force of the impact blows the moon to smithereens, and the following shockwave vaporizes any and all remains. As it does, Tatsumaki spreads her arms and smiles wide before swinging them at Boros again. The Cyclops looks around confused before noticing 2 more moons flying at him from either side.
You've got to be kidding me!
The alien frowns as 2 titanic satellites crash into him and break apart on impact. However, Boros flies out of the debris field completely unscathed. He takes a moment to regenerate his core before screaming out.
Enough playing around! These children's tricks won't even...
A hyperspace gate suddenly appears right in front of him. Before Boros can think, an energy slash comes shooting out of it. Point blank, the alien barely has enough time to react and blocks the attack with both hands. A gash appears on the outer shell of his forearms, but the Cyclops manages to dispel the blade. Right as he does, numerous hyperspace gates appear all around him. Boros can barely dodge as they shoot out dozens of energy blades, and the alien quickly finds himself getting overwhelmed, taking a few more chips on the shell as he does his best to avoid all the attacks.
What's the matter? Hard to keep up?
Tatsumaki taunts, but just then Boros unleashes a massive burst of energy and blows all of the gates away.
That's one nifty trick, but it won't get the best of me. Show me what other moves you've picked up.
The Cyclops laughs in excitement, which only grows as a sinister grin appears on Tatsumaki's face.
Careful what you wish for.
She responds, and a moment later, dozens upon dozens of portals appear all around Boros, and the alien is suddenly blasted from every direction by countless beams. An expansive explosion erupts, so intense that it causes even the nearest stars to tremble. An intense light temporarily blinds any astronaut unfortunate enough to be looking through a telescope at this moment. Eventually, the explosion fades and the light settles. Tatsumaki looks for Boros' body and finds the alien floating in the void with an intense, crackling blue aura surrounding him. Well, what's left of it anyway? Boros laughs as he finds himself missing huge chunks of his arms and legs.
Impressive! I imagine not many can endure that one. Even Blast was shaken in her sparring matches.
Tatsumaki chuckles and Boros nods.
I can see why. That was an amazing strike. Had you fought me from a month ago, I wouldn't have survived that one.
Damn right. And seeing as you're currently in pieces, I'd say I fulfilled the condition of scratching you. You ready to admit defeat?
Tatsumaki asks playfully, and Boros lets out a chuckle.
Alright, I admit. You far surpassed my expectations. But come on. Neither one of us is satisfied yet.
Of course.
Tatsumaki grins as her aura flares up again.
Heal yourself and let's begin round 2.
Now you're talking. That last attack was impressive. You even forced me to unleash my full power to take it.
Boros regenerates his wounds.
However,
he smirks.
Now that you've gone and done that,
I'm continuing this battle all out. So get ready!
The alien exclaims, and in the blink of an eye, he appears right in front of the Esper and delivers a devastating hook punch to her jaw. Tatsumaki manages to reinforce the defensive aura around her head and take the blow. She is, however, sent flying backwards, and Boros capitalizes on that by swiftly catching up and delivering a double hammer fist to her gut, sending her flying towards Saturn. The Esper falls into the planet with enough momentum to blow the gases apart completely, dispelling the entirety of the gas giant and destroying what was left of the ravaged world. As Boros rockets after Tatsumaki, a portal suddenly appears right in front of him, and out of it comes shooting a beam of extremely concentrated energy, so condensed and thin that it's barely even visible to the naked eye. Boros senses it more than he sees it. Right in the nick of time, the alien throws himself to the side and just about manages to dodge the beam by a hair's breadth. With that amount of energy concentrated into such a small area, that might have pierced his brain clean through if it hit. Boros' sweat drops to the thought, before another beam comes shooting out of another gate behind him. The alien lets out a wave of energy from his feet and propels himself out of the way, only for a giant wave of psychic energy to slam into the top of his head while he's distracted by the attack below. Before Boros can recover, hyperspace gates from multiple directions start sending various psychic attacks toward him. It takes all of the alien's agility and reflexes to avoid them, and eventually he gets frustrated. Boros tries to look for Tatsumaki, to sense for her energy, but she's nowhere in sight. The Esper is doing all of this from far away, but where? He can't see or sense her anywhere in the solar system. It's like she's not even here at all. Boros lets out a roar and quickly dispels all the gates with a huge burst of power before looking around. But all around him is nothing but the vast emptiness of space. The Esper really is nowhere to be found. What in the world is going on? Just then, another portal opens up and Tatsumaki emerges from it, panting and huffing. That's when it clicks for Boros.
Were you firing at me from another dimension?
Look who finally figured it out. Yes, I can travel across dimensions at will. And I can send attacks through as well. The Esper explains with a proud smirk, and Boros whistles.
That's a scary power,
he says before his eye narrows.
But it seems it takes a toll on you. Opening that many portals and using all of these attacks can't be easy.
It really isn't.
Tatsumaki pants a little.
The portals are one thing, but those concentrated blasts in particular take up a ton of energy.
I can see why. Those things are deadly,
Boros says, and Tatsumaki chuckles.
Indeed they are. But enough talk. Let us continue.
The Esper exclaims, raising her arms once more.
With pleasure.
The alien replies before dashing in to close the distance. Just as he's about to strike Tatsumaki, she opens up a portal in front of herself, and the alien's arm slips through into another dimension. Before Boros has any time to think of his next move, the portal shrinks rapidly. The Cyclops tries to pull his hand back, but finds himself just a tad too slow, and the portal closes around his wrist, cutting off his hand. The alien quickly looks around and realizes that Tatsumaki is gone once again.
She used the portal as a distraction. Clever.
Boros regenerates his hand, and moments later, Tatsumaki appears above him.
Dimension Slash!
Tatsumaki declares as she swipes a finger at Boros, and a thin, razor-sharp blade flies at the alien. The Cyclops is a tad slow to react and finds himself chopped in half.
What in the world?
The alien quickly grabs his lower half and attaches it back to his body, before leaning back to avoid another slice. This time, Boros barely manages to dodge the attack, but the front of the shell on his chest gets clipped and sliced clean open. Blood starts gushing out of the open wound, and before Boros can even think of regenerating, Tatsumaki swipes her finger at him several times. The alien is forced to dodge over and over again, doing his best not to let any of the slices reach him. Boros tries to get in close to his opponent, but Tatsumaki manages to keep distance through portals and constant pressure with her attacks. When physical combat doesn't work, Boros tries to fire at her with energy beams, but the Esper easily teleports, blocks, or slashes them apart.
This is bad.
The Cyclops mutters to himself before deciding that enough is enough.
I've been waiting for an opportunity to test this out.
The alien shouts as he focuses a ton of energy in the palm of his hand and forms a sword out of his aura. Tatsumaki's eyes widen. Since when can he do that? The momentary pause on the Esper's part allows Boros to heal his wounds and set up a counterattack. He swings his blade at the Esper countless times, sending innumerable slicing shockwaves towards her.
Atomic Slash!
The alien shouts as the energy waves rip across the void and spiral towards Tatsumaki, threatening to slice her into thousands of pieces. But the number one hero doesn't panic. She quickly raises her arms and creates a barrier in front of herself. 10 barriers lined up, in fact. The slices hit the shields and shatter them all, but Tatsumaki is left unharmed. That is until Boros appears right behind her and slashes at her from above. Tatsumaki, not even a fraction of a second too late, turns around and swipes a finger at Boros, creating another dimension slash. The two slices collide and clash, sending a shockwave throughout the solar system. The Cyclops grunts as he pushes his sword forward with all his might, trying to cut through the Esper's slash. Tatsumaki and Boros' auras flare up as their respective attacks try to overwhelm the other. A vein pops out of Tatsumaki's forehead as she pours more power into her attack, and soon, a winner emerges. With a shout, Tatsumaki sends Boros flying. The alien holds up his blade to protect himself from the dimension slash as he's pushed further and further back, but that only works for a few moments before the dimension blade cuts through his sword and severs his body in half again. Boros coughs up more blood.
Oh, wow. That was incredible.
He laughs as he regenerates his lower half and raises his hands, before channeling the energy from the eye in his chest to the palms of his hands and firing off a rapid machine gun barrage of small blasts. Tatsumaki darts around, dodging most of the energy bullets, but a few manage to connect with the passive shielding on her skin and cause a slight sting. The Esper doesn't let that slow her down. She puts up a shield to temporarily halt the barrage and then leans back, charging up a powerful psychic shockwave. Boros keeps on firing his blasts, which crash into the barrier and then bounce off, flying in all directions by the hundreds and destroying countless comets in outer space. One of these stray energy bullets finds itself crashing into the surface of Uranus and blows the planet into bits. Then, finally, the moment the shield breaks, Tatsumaki swings her arms at Boros and lets loose an enormous invisible force of her own, which flies straight at Boros and explodes against his chest. The alien screams as he sends spiraling across space and within moments crashes into an asteroid of the Kuiper Belt and Oort Cloud on the outer edges of the solar system. He bounces between the boulders and soon finds himself embedded into the icy surface of a comet. Not a moment later, Tatsumaki appears right in front of him with a black sphere in her hands. Planetary construction! The Esper shouts as she thrusts the orb into Boros and backs up into a portal before vanishing. The alien grunts as he suddenly feels an immense pull coming from the sphere.
This is a sphere of gravity?
The alien murmurs before all the asteroids within millions of miles suddenly accelerate into the orb. The massive amount of rubble, ice and dust is sucked into the sphere, and within moments, Boros' vision goes dark as he's buried in billions upon billions of tons of rock. Due to the intense gravity, he's unable to pull away and escape. Within moments, a titanic planetoid is formed, trapping Boros within a ball of cosmic waste. Tatsumaki appears a few thousand miles away and looks over her handiwork.
Not too shabby,
she says before extending her hand toward the planetoid and squeezing her fingers into a fist. The planet-sized ball instantly condenses, becoming more and more dense until it shrinks down to about the size of a city block. The Esper's eyes glow as she smirks.
This should provide enough of a distraction to set up my finisher.
A few seconds later, the sphere of rock, ice, and dust is suddenly split in half from the inside by a slicing shockwave. Boros emerges from the now dismantled planetoid, grinning wide, radiating energy that lights up the void around him.
Tatsumaki! I am so happy right now!
Boros laughs in delight. Then, the alien senses something big and looks up, preparing to guard against any incoming attacks. But as he does, Boros' eye goes wide. Cold sweat starts dripping down his face.
You've got to be joking.
Good luck!
What was that?
My finisher.
Tatsumaki responds, now panting and exhausted, but more than satisfied with the results of her new ultimate attack. Boros can't believe it. If he'd failed to dodge this... No. If Tatsumaki had actually aimed it for him instead of slightly to the side on purpose, he would be dead for sure by now. Boros wonders if he could even counter it with his meteoric burst, even with the roar cannon. While he contemplates that, the alien's arm slowly regenerates and he looks over at Tatsumaki.
How in the world did you gain such power?
The alien asks her with astonishment clearly audible in his voice. Tatsumaki chuckles.
It wasn't easy, but it was worth it to see that look on your face. I think it's fair to say I won our little sparring match.
The Esper declares and a smile returns to Boros' face.
Yeah, you certainly have. I concede defeat. Well done, Tatsumaki.
Boros finishes healing his side and floats over to her before pulling the exhausted Esper into a hug.
Welcome back.
He adds, and Tatsumaki, after a moment of hesitation, hugs him back.
Glad to be back.
A good minute later, the two heroes separate and Boros offers to lend Tatsumaki some of his energy to restore her reserves. Seems like that's the one aspect he still has her beaten. Tatsumaki accepts and the two of them soon find themselves floating in outer space with nothing else to do. Tatsumaki is the one to break the silence.
So, how is everyone back on Earth?
She asks and Boros takes a moment to think.
It's a mixed bag. Your sister is doing great. She's finally moved up from Class B to Class A, and seeks to reach the S-Class now. She's been especially motivated ever since you left and is training with Bang, his brother and Atomic Samurai. I think she wants to impress you when you return.
Boros chuckles and Tatsumaki smiles.
Good. She needs to put in the work.
Indeed. Anyways, Saitama bought that new house he wanted, so he seems to be having a good time. I've also built a new home for myself. I've also been training and spending time with this one little girl who really loves Rover. I never would have imagined a human kid could be so... wholesome? Is that the word?
Tatsumaki can't believe this.
You're serious? What? You try spending an hour with that little rascal without getting the instinct to make all her dreams come true, while twisting off the head of anyone who might try to hurt her.
This makes Tatsumaki crack up even more. Aww, the dominator of the universe has gone soft. She exclaims and the two heroes laugh for a moment, even Boros. The irony of the situation isn't lost on him. Once they calm down, the alien speaks up.
By the way, where's Blast? I would have thought he'd be here for this.
Blast is busy. He said he can't delay his duties any further.
I see. I wanted to tell the two of you something else, but I guess it's fine if it's just you as well.
What is it?
It's about the mystery of the missing heroes. You remember that, right? It started well before you departed.
Boros says, and the tone in his voice changes. Tatsumaki notices and becomes more serious as well.
Yes, I remember. Have you found anything out yet?
We have, but it's not good news. The heroes who are going missing. We now have concrete confirmation that all of them are most definitely dead. We found bodies, or rather what was left of them. Nearly 100 heroes have been killed and devoured, including multiple S-Class.
A chill runs down Tatsumaki's spine.
Oh, what? Who?
Puri prisoner, tanked up master and pig god. And we have reason to believe more will follow. That's why all the heroes have been assigned into groups of 3 or more in most cases. And due to the entire situation, many lower-ranked heroes are retiring or going into hiding. The S-Class heroes are focusing on either strengthening themselves or searching for this threat. I've basically become the sole defender of the Earth when it comes to regular creature attacks, eliminating any monsters as soon as they appear on my own. It's not a problem for me, but this is not good.
Tatsumaki's face goes pale.
This is a disaster,
She says before taking a moment to calm down.
What do we know about this threat?
That's pretty much it. Metal Knight and Zombie Man are launching investigations, so hopefully we'll have something to go off of soon. But for now, there's really nothing I can do. I can't punch something into oblivion if I don't even know where it is.
Boros says and Tatsumaki nods.
Unfortunately, I probably can't do all that much either. My sensory capabilities have improved vastly, but I can't just feel out the whole planet without even knowing what to look for.
The Esper sighs and the alien nods.
Yes, I've run into that same issue. We'll just have to wait to hear any news. The moment the bastard responsible for this is found, I'll kill him. In the meantime, I'd like to ask you to help me master Meteoric Burst if it's not too much trouble.
Hold on. Is Fubuki in a safe place right now? Is she at any risk of being attacked by that threat?
No, you shouldn't have to worry. During the day, she trains with multiple heroes who I estimate to be some of the strongest aside from you, King, Saitama Blast, and myself. And during nighttime, Fubuki actually moved into the Hero Association HQ to live in the same apartment as King. I offered the spot up to her after I decided to leave. Right now it's nighttime in her time zone, so she should be with him.
That's a relief. If she's with him, then there's nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
Alright. We can go into the Hametsuto Kurushimi for your training. It will save us a lot of time.
The what now?
But before that, I should probably go check up on Fubuki anyway. It's been so long.
Right, it has been a year for you, I understand. Go. I'll wait here and clear my mind a little in the meantime. I need to give some more thought into the best way to go about perfecting Meteoric Burst and breaking my limiter.
Meanwhile, back on Earth. In a park, Phoenix Man hands Tario a towel to clean the sweat off of his forehead. The bird monster and the kid have been training ever since the afternoon in hopes of getting Tario up to snuff to protect himself from low-level monsters if it comes to that. The boy takes the towel, grateful.
Thanks for agreeing to teach me.
Oh, no, don't mention it. I'm always happy to help however I can. That's what heroes are for, after all. And since Boros has taken care of most of the monster attacks lately, I have more than enough time to spend. Phoenix Man smiles and hands Tario a cone of ice cream before taking a bite out of his own cone himself, which makes Tario shiver a little. How can he just bite into it like that? Don't his teeth get cold? Mister, how does it feel to be a hero? Tario asks, looking at Phoenix Man with big curious eyes. You can drop the mister, kid. Just call me Phoenix Man. But to answer your question, I'm no longer a hero officially speaking. But in general, it's pretty great. I'm proud to be able to help people in need like you. I couldn't imagine working anywhere else. Phoenix Man responds genuinely before getting curious himself. Why do you ask? I was just wondering. Someday I want to become a hero too. Tario says, surprising the bird-themed hero a little. Really? What made you decide that? It's 'cause I look up to a lot of heroes.
like Mr. King, Lightning, Genji, and you. Hearing Tario include him among his list of role model heroes warms Phoenix Man's heart. Finally, for the first time since the decline of his show, he finally has a real fan. No, more than that. He has a friend.
That's nice to hear. Thank you.
So, do you think I can become a hero like you someday?
Let me tell you something, kid. If a crash-out failure like me can become a hero somehow fortunate enough to have been able to inspire a good kid like you, then I'm absolutely certain you can become an amazing hero someday as well. You just have to put in the work.
Phoenix Man encourages Tario, who smiles wide. Thank you, the boy says, looking at Phoenix Man with stars in his eyes. The bird monster chuckles a little, happy to see the boy so motivated.
Your future is bright, kid.
Back in space, Tatsumaki returns to Boros' location and takes both of them to the Hametsu to Kurushimi to begin the aliens' training. Immediately upon arrival, confusion washes over Boros. What in the world is this place? His body feels heavy. The air feels strange and painful around his shell. He can't see a thing and his eye stings. Soon, visions of horrible events start flashing through Boros' mind. The alien quickly shakes them off and turns to Tatsumaki.
You mean to tell me you spent an entire year training here? How in the world did you survive this?
Boros asks. He is a member of a species of survivors. The elements and disasters of his home planet, the harshest environment in the universe, felt like a refreshing breeze to Boros. But this actually makes him sweat a bit. And Tatsumaki, a human, managed to survive in here? It took time to adapt, but eventually I did become resistant. Now I can move around freely. You'll get used to it as well, after a few minutes or so. I imagine it won't take any longer than that for you. But it took me an entire month to become fully acclimated.
Seriously? Is there even anything to drink or eat here?
There is, actually. Some of the creatures are edible, and you can get water from them too. Of course, at first I wasn't nearly strong enough to take any of them down, so I had to starve for a while and rely on my own energy supplies to keep me alive.
I see. Well, in any case, it's impressive that you were able to accomplish this. But now it's time to begin my training here instead.
Sure. What kind of training do you have in mind?
As I said, first and foremost, I have to master Meteoric Burst. In order to do that, I need to gain experience with that form. I need to use it more until my body acclimates. The problem is, it puts such immense strain on me that my life is shaved every time I use it. If I trained on my own, I would carve my lifespan irreparably.
Which is where me and my ability to stabilize and enhance your body to lessen the strain comes in, right?
That's the plan. And with the power gap between us being pretty much non-existent compared to the last time we tried this, it should be a lot more effective than before too.
Boros confirms and the Esper nods.
Very well then. Let's get started.
Whew, that is the end of the episode. Holy, I've been recording for 2 hours. Yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this one. This one's one of the heavy hitters, and the next few are going to be as well, so... Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think about Tatsumaki's new powers. Did I go a bit overboard? Did I go a bit overboard, or is it fitting? Because, like, remember, she had to go to hell and back, literally, for this one. She spent a month being like, when breathing, your lungs burn on fire, and you're like, you open your eyes and you get needles of superheated glass in them and stuff. Like, that's the kind of thing she had to go through for a month. Then all this training with, like, God and all the creatures as well from part 4. Then all the training with Blast for literally 11 months in super high gravity and everything. Like, I busted out everything. The time chamber, the gravity chamber, the harshest of conditions, everything to make this make sense. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. This battle was a ton of fun to write. Get to be all sorts of creative with like new moves and whatnot. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would be very happy to hear your thoughts and suggestions below if you have any. And yeah, join us tomorrow. Well, I wish it was tomorrow. Now, join us in like another month, probably. I swear I'll try to keep this, the pause between these as small as possible, but no promises, but you know. Anyway, join us whenever the next part drops for the Opera House Massacre, where Platinum truly comes into his own as a villain there, I will say that, because I have to say I've been a little experimental and a little unsure of what to do with him fully, but like now I've got it locked down now. Like now, in part 8 and part 10 and 9 and everything, parts 8 and 9 specifically, you're gonna see Platinum blossom into the villain that I envision him being, and I really like the vision personally, so we'll see if you guys like it as well. And yeah, without any further ado, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day or night, depending on where you live. And with nothing else to say, I wish you a great rest of your day. Goodbye.